Hello everyone and welcome back. Last episode we talked and introduced our topic and the 40s. So let's just jump into the 50s. Advertising is very different than the 40s since there was no kind of war crisis. But boosting population means that companies need to stock up more because since the war was over, people cash in all their savings bonds, cash in all the stuff that they got from said war. Mostly it was war bonds. And I'm going to correct myself. I said savings bonds. I meant war bonds. But when the veterans came home from the war, there was a boost in population. There was 76 million babies born in the 50s alone. And because of that, companies need to stock up more and more on materials, basically, and items. They need to stock up more and make more stuff for said 76 million children that were born in that decade alone. Not decade, but in that year alone. All those children are called the baby boomers because it was a boost in population at the time. And I'm pretty sure it still is the highest boost of population we've seen. And because of that, and everyone cashing in the war bonds, and all of that money just pushed into, consumers' hands, people are buying more. Many Americans bought and saved up from the war bonds. And now since many Americans are cashing in the war bonds, they're spending more amounts of money. With President Eisenhower lowering the taxes and balanced out the budget, citizens will soon stop thrifting their old clothes and start buying on credit. Nowadays, people use credit card every day, almost religiously, and people have debit that they can't pay off, and that's the constant thing that we see every day, and we tell our children, hey, don't spend too much money, you need to save it, but they don't really listen to us. But because of that, people are having really, really low credit, not credit, but pretty low amounts that they spend, and people are raising, I'm pretty sure with your credit card nowadays, you can buy a car with it if you really want. But back to the topic at hand. In the 1950s, the economy grew up to 37%, and by the end of the decade, the average person, American family, had 30% more purchasing power than beginning of the decade. Now, since the 50s, we're known as a rebellious teenager stage, we want to do what we want, rock music all the time, ha ha ha, kind of, the usual stuff. Teenagers would get married at a pretty young age. Nowadays, people get married in their 20s, but teenagers at the time were acting like mini adults. Normally, they would go off, date one person for a week, kind of like kids in high school now, date for a week, freak out after they break up with them or catch them cheating, and then move on to the next person, guy or girl. But, since now in the 50s, they're acting like mini adults, they are staying with one partner. And since, that's kind of going on, marketing, it doesn't really affect marketing that much, since that in the 50s, with the rebellious stage of the teenagers and religion-wise, that didn't really affect marketing. Religion kind of did, because not a lot of people bought more stuff, but marketing and the ads that were sent out to everyone was kind of just the, hey man, we have this product, I think you would like it, you should buy it. And they're starting, companies are starting to get smarter on how they advertise things. I found a cigarette ad saying guard against throat scratches, and it's taking the advantage of people always smoking at that time period, and it was totally fine for teachers to smoke in schools, but they couldn't be able to smoke in the classrooms. And some more ads. One ad is more pep in parties. Pop's fluffy, delicious, fun way to pop and eat. Always fluffy and tender, delicious, sealed airtight cans, always fresh. Jolly time, pop guaranteed to popcorn. And that's a popcorn ad. And they're finding more ways to be snazzier and kind of make it look more interesting. Another cigarette ad is Lucky Tastes Better. Cleaner, fresh, smoother. Nothing beats a better taste. And it's advertising flavored cigarettes for people to smoke. I think in the 1950s they came out with a candy for kids that is a cigarette stick, and it had gum in it, and it looked like an actual cigarette. So kids were marketed cigarettes and smoking materials at a very young age from looking like magazines and seeing what their mom and dad are doing. Another one is Chesterfield wins. It's Chesterfield, mildness and taste. One is for women, and one was like, the women's one was her being all classy with a cigarette in her hand, fancy clothes, her looking jolly and happy. While the man one, that was targeted to men and white men, in these ads there was no really colored people, because in that time, like in the 50s, it wasn't considered natural to say. Like, it wasn't, like, I don't know how to put it. It wasn't, per se, like, people weren't used to it. People didn't like the idea that someone else was different from them. But for the white male cigarette one, it's him in, like, an army shirt, and he's, like, smoking. All of his buddies behind him smoking with him. Another commercial is for Coke. It says, "Come over for a Coke." And it has this lady, like, "Hey, come on, I have a Coke. You want some?" They advertise as Coke as peace offerings and ways to make friends. And nowadays, Coke is very popular, so they don't advertise as much. They only advertise, like, at Christmas or certain events. But, like, Coke was advertised almost everywhere in the 50s and 40s, 50s, 60s, towards the end of 70s. But I see we are slowly running out of time. So I hope you stay tuned. This was like the 50s. Hope you stay tuned for the next couple of episodes. Like always, have a great day.